So now that I'm, at this school and I got in trouble, and this principal takes me in and he says, you know what, you did something wrong. So what they did was they bent me over their knee and took this wooden paddle, like as if you were getting an initiation or something through some sorority or something. And basically, they paddle boarded me, or used the paddle to spank me, and that was supposedly to teach me a lesson. So then, I went home and I told my dad, who, rarely had any interest or care about what was going on, and I said, hey, like they basically spanked me with a paddleboard. And my dad was very very upset, very upset. He went down there, and this was something that he's done before, as I mentioned in a prior video, where one time, I went to school and I brought something I shouldn't have brought, and they thought that I was going to hurt people, and it was like a nail file or something like that. And, my dad was like, he's a kid. Or what is he going to do? What is he going to do with something that can't actually harm anyone? But fast forward, I told my dad about this, and he was very upset. So he went down there and he, yelled at everyone, and he said, pretty much threatening them, if you touch my son ever again or you do anything like that, that he's going to take, he's going to take action in his own hands. And so, at the same time, like, because my dad was in a new relationship, and whatever this woman was doing to me, meaning like she was, verbally, she never did anything harmfully to me, but pretty much because of the way I was, she didn't want me to be around because, she had her daughter, and that because I'm a teenage boy, I'm like, we're not even really family or anything, or like, I already know my dad's gonna break up with you, or I already know whatever's gonna happen, and I'm more than likely contributed to that because of how I was acting. And I thought it was just like not good. And what I had said was pretty much true. Like, they broke up, so me and my dad, we went and we moved to this trailer in this chicken farm, or on this chicken farm, or whatever it was. So it's just somewhere that we can be. And so pretty much it was me and him solo, and we didn't live in the same area or the same town, but as we were before, but we were still in the same state. And I would have to walk up a dirt road, to get to my bus, and then the bus would take me to basically this middle school where it was like between 6th and 8th grade. And this is out in, Louisiana, where pretty much, you're going back like 50 years of de-evolution. Everything is, not as progressive as you would find in larger cities or things like that. So the education system was definitely not the same. It was different. Everything was different. And I'd get there, and overall it was okay. But the same occurrences started happening, where you know some kids would start to pick on me, and I was not willing to deal with that because I had already been through so much, that I would fight back. And then I would verbally explain to all the teachers as an adult, saying, I don't have to deal with being disrespected or doing like this. None of you are doing anything to protect me or protect any of these other students. You're sitting there looking like an idiot. I said, if you guys aren't going to do this, then this same situation is going to keep happening. Just because I'm the new kid here, why do you think that you can, pick on me? Or why do you think you can treat me a certain way, that's different from all the other people? And, I still never understood that, but I was no longer willing to deal with this. Now, we're talking about between, you know, 1999 and 2001. And at this time, because I had grown up listening to 80s, 90s music, I was heavily into metal music and rap and, pop and everything. My favorite band in the late 90s at the time was Slipknot, and I'd have to beg and beg and beg and beg and beg, please buy me this CD, please buy me something. Like, even my dad, he gave me an ultimatum one time. He said, you could either buy a toy or we're going to go watch Space Jam, the movie with Michael Jordan. And I said, dude, we are going to go watch Space Jam because Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and that is like one of the biggest, one of my favorite um, athletes, sports legends, period. There's never, nothing is ever going to change that. And that's because of, the similarities that I had with my father and what I'd like, sports and anime and cartoons and, a lot of those things. Those were just like what I could hold on to. And, those situations where I would be given an ultimatum saying, you could either starve or you can eat some food. Well, obviously, I don't want to starve, but if you're going to physically abuse me, that doesn't really make me want to eat. If you're going to throw a fork at me and it's going to stab me in my side, and I'm going to have a permanent scar for my entire life, and you never even said sorry or you never did anything except keep kicking my ass, um, you know, there's only so many things that I can decide, but definitely I went and saw that Space Jam for sure. And that was probably like one of two movies that I've ever went actually to the movie theater and saw with my father. One of them was also like um, Shazam with Shaq for sure. And I know the Mandela effect is real. Yes, yes, both movies existed. Yes, it was all that. Don't care what anybody says. It's the truth. Sinbad already admitted all this stuff. Nobody cares. It is what it is. They want to keep hiding. That's fine. Nobody cares about it. Everybody knows. So if you don't know, now you know that it is true, and everybody out there is lying to you in the world. So just believe what you think and trust God. That's it. You just need to trust in God's truth. That's it. And that is something that my parents, they never had. They didn't, my grandmother did have faith, and I did go to church occasionally, but I was treated like an outcast too. So church, going to a physical church always seemed like sacrilegious in a way. It never felt like what they were truly preaching was something that they were actually doing, and there were times though when I did go to a church because I'd have to go and like stay the night with, I think Michael was his name. One time I went and hung out with my friend Michael, and his parents were very religious, and they were actually great people. But those people, were able to get me kind of out of, um, out of the house before I had moved, just to try to keep me safe. So we went to this church one time, and they treated me very well, and I was very thankful for them coming into my life. But then I'd go right back into those scenarios. So now being you know, in these new states and these different things and being alone and being on this chicken farm and going to this, this butthole town and dealing with these, you know, people that felt some kind of way about me because I was new, because I was different. And then everybody still doing the same thing, as well as me doing the same behaviors, causing probably some situations. But at this point, we're talking like right before 9/11. So when I was there at school, I remember, coming in and some of the students were saying like one of the students had passed away because she tried to go underneath a railroad track. Or like she tried to cross underneath a train when it was going on the railroad track. Okay, now I only heard about this. I didn't know the person. I didn't know the situation. I only heard about this. But I know that that was like right before 9/11 had happened. And so when I was there at the school and dealing with all this stuff, I came to school that morning, one of those mornings, and basically it was like, you know, we're watching the Twin Towers fall and stuff like that. Now, me personally, at this point, I had already been like very much suspicious of a lot of things. And one thing that, if grow up in the US, you never trust the government at all. And I never trust the government at all because why would I trust the people that inflict the most harm in this world? Yeah, that's not good. So, anyways, I was like, you know what? This is not this is not cool, this is not right. And yeah, everybody was like terrorist, all these other things. But, you know, the biggest terrorists are in the United States, and they are actually the government in some way. But that situation was so tragic and harmful. I was sitting there thinking, like, I cannot believe that this is going on. I can't believe that I'm watching what I'm seeing. And at the same time, I'm feeling like this isn't right. Like nothing seems right. So, you know, now I'm like even more confused about the direction of what's going on in the world as well as in my life, and then everyone ganging up on me to some extent, or me projecting a lot of things in some way, that we just kept moving forward. And so it wasn't long until my dad, he one time he had me stay the night with his someone he worked with or something like that. He At the time he was doing just electrical work, being an electrician or stuff like that. I don't know what he was doing, honestly, but he took me to someone's house, and they were good. I want to say that they were great people. I didn't honestly really know them, but their house was just infested with cockroaches and all types of stuff, and I was like, man, did my dad just leave me here like permanently or something like that? Now I'm here at somebody's house, and we at the trailer we also had cockroaches, but it wasn't like this. I mean, this was like really bad, a really bad situation. And luckily I didn't. I only think I stayed there for like one night, and because even at my domestic violence house, even where I originally grew up, we had bad problems, hoarding and things like that, and cats and whatever. But we didn't have cockroaches like this, and it was just because it was a different area. But they were nice, and I was just like happy to get away from whatever was going on. I was happy to be involved with anyone, and even before, when I remember distinctly, clearly, that even you know trying to have, let's say, a birthday party. There was a popular kid in my neighborhood, and I was walking around the neighborhood, and I went to his house, and his family was very much inviting. They were Filipino and Mexican, and so they had a good family, and like I kind of looked up to them in a way, because I was like, oh, you guys are much, things look much better, much different, much clearer with them. But because of how my father was, I went over there, and they accepted me, and they're like, hey, we're having a birthday party. Even actually, his father invited me because he saw me outside, and he's like, hey, you're one of his friends, or you're in the neighborhood. You should come over and enjoy the birthday party. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I don't, yeah, why not? Like, I don't have any, nobody cares about what I'm doing or anything. So I went over there, and I was hanging out, and I was just getting to make a plate and stuff like that, and I was in the garage, and next thing you know, my dad pulls up and yells at me saying, get in the car, we gotta go. So before I could even have any food or do anything, I have to go, and I have to jump in the car, and I have to take off. And it actually really affected the people that invited me, because they thought I was kidnapped, or they thought I was gone, and because I just disappeared. And unfortunately, it was because of, you know, do I get my ass kicked by my dad again, or do I just follow it? So I pretty much didn't have a choice. But now that I was older in my teenage years, we're moving again to Texas this time, after he picked me up from the person's house who was had some infestation because of wherever they lived or whatever. So now we're going to a new state. We're going to Texas, and it's probably like, let's see, this would have been my third school now, third school in less than 2 years. And so we get there, and he gets an apartment, and things are actually okay to some extent. We get there, and you know, some of the things that I kept doing never changed. I'd run with the wrong crowd. You know, we'd go to Kmart and, you know, steal some games. And the people that I would hang out with, you know, I thought I could trust because they were just, you know, people that I were involved with. Now, most people didn't know that prior to me moving and the people that I was around, you know, it got me into, you know, doing drugs, right? For instance, smoking weed or trying cigarettes. And I never liked cigarettes, anyways. So that was disgusting. Beer always tastes like garbage to me. I never liked beer. One time, my dad actually gave me whiskey after we got back from the snow, and I pretty much puked because that stuff was so nasty. And he didn't take me to the snow. He took me to the side of the road where it was the leftover snow with all the dirt. So that's my snow experience as a child, and that's all I had at that point. So now, like, you know, because of all these things that happened, you know, like my sister was pretty much the one who got me into drugs. They, you know, hanging out with them, they'd, you know, smoke out of bongs and things like that, and they'd wear Jinko clothes and be all, you know, into raves and candy, whatever stuff. And you know, that obviously I couldn't keep doing those things when I left, and that was pretty much one of the reasons why I did leave.